Hi, welcome back to the third installment of our collaborative instructional review. We are getting ready to talk about learner engagement. Couple of reminders before we get going. This is a three-phase process. So the beginning of this one, we are preparing for our instruction. Then we will have the classroom visits, and we will end those with the professional dialogue in order to promote our instruction. And again, just a reminder as to why we are doing this is improve student achievement because we are focusing on the learning. Again, when we are in rooms observing, it is 80% watching students, 20% watching the teacher. So it's really about watching the learning and giving you another set of eyes as to what is going on as a result of your carefully designed instruction. So, what is learner engagement? So, when we hear the term student engagement, we are really talking about students' interest and their investment in their own learning. We're looking at their motivation, and we want to make sure that we are appealing to different learning styles. Why is this important? I'm not going to read the slide to you, but there are so many reasons why learner engagement matters. If you look in the bottom right-hand corner, you are welcome to search the research and find the original sources. But basically, learner engagement equals a higher level of achievement, and that's what we're looking for in our classes. So how do I do this? Couple things for you to think about prior to looking at lesson design. Some factors that impact learner engagement. The first one are emotions. We've talked before about an affective filter. And so for your students, this could be how are they feeling in the day? How are they feeling about the content? And if that affective filter is up high, students are going to have a harder time engaging in the material. Interest and importance. So is a student interested? Is this important to them? This really ties into that relevance piece that we worked on in our last round, making sure that that content is relevant to the student so that they will engage with the material. Finally, self-efficacy. We want to make sure that when students are working on something, that it's something that they can actually do. And the student needs to feel like that's something that they can do. They need to feel confident in their ability. We do this through appropriate differentiation, through scaffolding, by addressing different learning styles. Also promoting the idea that, failure is the first attempt in learning, and really promoting that culture in our classrooms. So when you think about the factors that can impact learner engagement, here are some ideas on how you can actually integrate learner engagement. We've got questioning techniques and response routines. We'll talk about that more specifically here in a moment, but being very specific with that. We want to include scaffolding. We need to be cognizant of our pacing. If we're going too fast or we're going too slow, students will not be able to engage with the content. We want to make sure that we're conveying enthusiasm, because if we are not excited about what we are teaching, our students certainly aren't going to be excited about what they're learning. We want to make sure that we are differentiating. We want to incorporate movement. Brain science supports that. We also want to make sure that we're providing consistent and effective feedback. The content needs to be relevant, and we're addressing different learning styles. So specifically, when we're talking about questioning strategies and response strategies, you really want to try to stay away from broadcast questioning. A broadcast question is one of those questions that we just announce to the entire class. Can anyone tell me what the 3 branches of government are? Generally, what the response is, you have no hands go up and no one answers, or 1 or 2 hands go up, and it's generally the same 2 kids every single time. In that scenario, you have maybe 1 out of 25 or 2 out of 25 students engaged. Only 1 person is getting to talk, which means that your other 24, 23 students are really just kind of sitting there hoping that you don't call on them. What we really need to do is be intentional with our questions and be intentional with our discussion strategies. So, for example, instead of a broadcast call or question, if you look over on the right, you want to be very specific. Students turn to their shoulder partners, their face partners, partner A, partner B are talking about something very specific. We have to teach them how to have those academic conversations. And that just in and of itself will greatly improve your engagement. If I have students talking to a partner rather than answering for the whole class, whereas before I had 1 out of 25 students engaged, now I have at least half. I have 50% of my students engaged because they're all talking. Sorry. Okay. So basically, what we're looking at here is there is no opting out. All students are expected to be engaged, to participate. And when you set that expectation that all students will be held accountable for discussing different topics with their peers, they will get used to that and they will come to expect it of themselves as well. Okay, so how are we going to know when all of our students are engaged and learning? A lot of that comes from your design and making sure that you have those structures built in. But for our purposes, we're going to talk about the learner engagement rubric. So again, just like always, we're looking at active participation. We're going to look at the learning environment. We're going to look at formative tools and processes. So make sure that you review that rubric prior to our meeting to talk about your plans. Okay, so again, learner engagement, teaching is listening, learning is talking. I will be getting with you shortly so that we can start our discussion about the instruction that we have planned for the observation day for learner engagement. Thank you.